Aloha, my friends and family and enemies. Today I have a talk for you called Sovereignty or Pretendependant. No man is an island on planet of the slaves and early graves. After lifetimes as probably a Buddhist monk or a person in the collective, had gotten accustomed to someone else ringing the bell. Always in the collective, so, I have empathy. This round I was to be adamantly independent, at least in my mind, and individualistic, even an iconoclast. Yet this realm was not designed that way. How dare I try to do that? When Loser 4 or the L imported, in my opinion, I feel that they imported lions, tigers, and bears, oh my, not bears, mosquitoes, and many other kinds of literal vampires here, including the ones in human form, along with the bloodletting, endless wars, and insane rents, escalating every year. For all beings, a kind of pseudo-independence and false separation was forced on all. Why is that? Why must I microwave myself for to play more? So, literally bringing human vamps into this world of every sort, including the one in the movies kind of thing. And so, and along, so this was forced on all spirits in human suits. This killing, graping, torturing, and other collective forms of psychic imprisonment kept growing and escalating like frogs heating up in a proverbial pot of water, generation by generation. More subtle and advanced forms of boiling your subconscious minds, gradually boiling us all with the matrix and forced suffering. No man is an island. Every person born had to arrive through the sex act. Right. So when you think about it, the creation symbol itself of the Tao, the yin yang, is the form of the creation in this realm. These opposite forms coming together. But every one of us arrives via a female human's womb to have this experience, even if it has become downgraded or, in all these crazy different types of, bars added on, so-called seals and, advertisements of torture that have to invade. And so, over the years of this realm being repurposed into a loose farm, hell realm, the shamans were hunted down and attacked. The ancient druids and all the native-based systems were destroyed and replaced with these false self-gods, Fibonacci spiral in replace of the real flower of life. The real spiral of creation was slightly altered by these master geneticists, masters of psychic tyranny. The archons became the lords of karma, putting this machinery and Saturn and all this, whatever's happening in the dark side of the moon. God, the faker, always needs endless blood sacrifices because Kronos is a killer, not my God. In my Mayan cosmology, the day I was born, it says I am guided by the power of timelessness. I don't know what that means, but I feel that I've made my best song creations, my best sermons when I was in a timeless space. So I might flunk out right now because I'm on the clock. Since I've learned this, killing time has a whole new meaning. Killing time. That's right. That's right. I'm going to have to move to a place where it's not so prevalent. That's how we kill it. Just minimize your association with Kronos lies. There's this dude I saw the other day said he wants to be called Noam because he always says no ma'am. And but he said time's a liar because it's always saying something different than what it is, and it's always in the moment now. So in my 20s, I moved out here to California, to Santa Cruz, California, to heal, and live my dream to become my true self. Finally, independent in this forced competition. As I've said, after a decade, I finally was able to earn dinner money as a one-man band, busking this atomized survival contest in a beast. At that age, I knew that rents were imposed. I mean, I knew that these insane costs, what people were paying, were crazy, but I didn't know much about infiltration and how the subversive Fabians, for example, manufactured the hippie, and the CIA helped, a happily married woman, heterosexual married woman, CIA agent named Gloria Steinem, and they kind of helped her to make what I call the women's elimination movement to try to get women to compete with men in the job force to get more money, and she wasn't even actually a man hater in her personal life. I didn't yet know most or all movements were either massive faked egregores of hell, pretending like Charlie Manson and Jim Jones weren't exceptions to the rule. They were the rule. When you look into history, what happened, we have a lot of theories, but Michael Jackson, for example, was very talented. I mean, a really good singer and an entertainer. Yet, other than that, he was just like everyone else around him in Hollywood and the way that they attacked him. But when you think about it, actually, it might have been. I mean, I kind of, I might be a Jackson conspiracy, because the thing is that he came out with that song where he's chanting, all I gotta say is that They don't really care about us. He was trying to be polite about it, you know. All I gotta say is that they don't really care about us. And then he turns into a Black Panther, or he started smashing this car, a sports car. Then he turned into a Black Panther. I don't think they liked that. Anyways, I trailed to, but I think that might have been what it was. But then he was into the big farm, so there you go. So I mean, to what they accused him. Let's put it this way: to what they accused him of sexually, they were all into that kind of thing. I mean, every person who was caught, queer or straight or whatever, and Bill Cosby, for example, were portrayed as a unique or a singular person or outrageous, individual singular case or radical. But if you do a little bit more research and if you do honest research, you could find, like, as the Me Too movement kind of spread around, these mental sicknesses and sexual perversions were normal there. So for years I busked and collected cans and then I turned it into a route because I couldn't make any money the first couple of years in my 20s when I tried to busk with the acoustic guitar. And so I turned out, it took me like several hours, but I'd make $5. I'd ask people's permission to dig through the trash, not even the recycle, and some of the clerks were cool, so I didn't have to talk to anyone. I'd make like $5. Took me a decade to make the same amount with my horn. Busking was I began to earn more than that from that than music. Busking here was competitive, so finally, after 10 years, I was able to. So after a decade of dealing with a deadly blood disease and years of coercive begging, I caved and was infantilized into codependency. The last thing my ego, the little me, wanted. Mercury and Capricorn retrograde, a bootstrapper, kind of person. Like, I was mentally a serious bootstrapper. Of course, this was a means to an end, not only for my self-efficacy, as it's called, but the social perception of manhood. To be a man or a woman in a slave culture, you have to be, an amazing hustler. And in others' eyes, in capitalism, in others' eyes have means to be a good box slave or totally dominated by the ego. It seems, like some fake guru or whatever. So adding insults to the mind cage, industrial hexing of us all. Now I will remain forever a child in the eyes of the inverted collective. Yet I might have the capacity to be a successful capitalist if I cared, if I didn't see that they were going to force this central bank currency in a year and 2 weeks from now. But how much freedom will I have in that situation on this hijacked snow globe, where to be healthy, humans, for example, must consume other animals' milk or their placenta? I mean, yeah. When you see that Loser 4 is such a brilliant geneticist that he was able to force me to have to consume some placenta to have a healthy brain. I mean, it's just a fact. Without this theft or killing, like becoming a fisherman, who is really independent here? I mean, if I'm not willing to become a killer or just tend chickens and milk goats or cows, who is really independent here? I mean, no one. Another meaning for the word rent is aptly to make a hole in something, right? So, when you have the heavy rent, when the rent takes up every moment of every day, what is that doing? It's making a hole. I mean, hopefully your day job or however you're earning that money is something you passion, you love, it helps others or whatever. So harmless and respectful. So, man, because that makes the world a better place. Because otherwise, like, it's like it's gonna be bad if you're around here. And so it's making holes in yourself, maybe. So wage and tax or box slavery with no rent control, like around this county in the glorious Central Coast, California, is a way to keep our minds like Swiss cheese, just like unhealed Scorpios, whole here and there, but not completely whole. But Pluto is so war-torn and hijacked. It literally has holes in it. Mental, there was this stupid debate into whether it was an asteroid or a planet a few years ago. I mean, because it has so many holes in it from all the, or craters from all the, wars and hijacks, and mental miasmas made of dogma, lies, and, the underworld ego, fear, and death. Cube tech control is an abomination. It's probably on all the planets, it's especially on togetherness, community, and peace. I saw at least a dozen community houses and land co-ops in this county of Santa Cruz, California, removed, but prior to the 2020 lockdowns. There is really no possibility of true, pure sovereignty in a flesh suit here if we have this maritime admiralty law and there is no allodial title allowed, because you'll have to consume other animal parts to survive and be healthy. If you don't hunt, fish, do animal husbandry, milk goats, cows, or keep chickens, you will not only possibly starve, you're going to have to pay someone else for them. I'm speaking of when the economy goes nuts, when the dollar is almost worthless. Can you work out a personal barter system? I mean, some people can do that, Maybe, but that is closer to the truth here. Of course, with every essence or fragment or wounded thing that's in a flesh suit, moving it around, we have co-interdependence. That's the reality that, no matter how wealthy or poor someone is, without other people, they wouldn't exist. Their body couldn't go. Like, for the most part, I mean, some people can, you can watch YouTube videos where people attempt to really take care of themselves and see how much suffering they go through, But everything is codependent, really, actually, if you think about it. I mean, I don't know. Without customers, no business people can take care of themselves. Most, if not all, 1%, robber barons or 1% companies have gotten rich through codependency with the matrix, like selling drugs or, petroleum products and things that people have a need for. So they create a codependency within the matrix. Elon Musk's old company, SpaceX, he got a huge government grant to do that. SpaceX was built with government subsidies. Peter Thiel got wealthy from building Palantir with massive CIA contract money, because it's a surveillance company. Meaning to say, it's a data collection company, so they could use it to, surveil and control or collect information, rather. Trump's been a landlord and a Hollywood reality show star, funded by big boy Rothschild banksters. And so when he first got in there, I thought, did they kind of like tell him he had to do it because he owed them so much money? And if you're in the club, you can't question the devil's tyrannical filth. I mean, you're not, if you're in the big club, so to speak, you're not actually allowed to question any of that kind of stuff. Like geoengineering even. I mean, because they know, I can't talk about it very much, because they know that, the overlords are insisting on it. If you are forced to need money, it has to come from somewhere. So through loser fours, massive coercions, systematic soul bashing, and attrition warfare tactics like Abrahamic religions and big daddy or big mommy governments, everybody has had to become one with God or suffer as a two-legged wild animal in a realm that will certainly punish you, like with geoengineering, for example. Like if you have any wounds, I mean, we will make them grow out in the jungle or rivers when we geoengineer them up. Killing to survive. That's right. If I was a real human, like, I'd probably have to kill to survive for my brain to be healthy. Again, if I wasn't tending chickens and dairy animals, because just out of nutritional needs. Because the devil is such a great geneticist. And now, if drones and vigilante groups are used to remove all who aren't human slaves or captives, the Great Reset will make sure human free will and sovereignty is permanently erased, their wet dream. Such an ambitious, lofty goal. Does the magnetic, blood-soaked, filthy, tyrannical, narcissist, black hole ambition of the devil have no bounds? That seems to be a good question. I don't think it does. I think it's amazing, man. But, the devil is basically a psychic black hole that can intimidate almost everyone and everything fall into it. Unless they're enlightened masters and they can help lead humans out of it. My North Node is in Libra, but I consider the moon to be a fake and pure evil memory wipe station. So what do I care? Well, it's interesting, It's just interesting psychologically speaking, because they, perhaps the moon hijacks psychology. They say it governs it. So, well, if I don't fake it, if I don't face it, I'll stay alone in this psychologically captured hell realm the rest of my existence here as a musician aware of the truth that's about the sexual yin-yang, a sovereign mind who is only half of an animal creation circuit. In other words, this brings back the whole thing I say that you could be totally enlightened and perhaps you think you're ready to go internally, but have you completed your mission if you haven't experienced that? I mean, some people don't, are done fully or they don't need it, but seems to be a few, just a very small amount. Does ganja give me pseudo self-confidence or mental independence, or is it what the Chinese, my friend said, called it a mind sharpening herb? Does it help me to sharpen it or weaken it? What music will I be capable of emitting? Without that sexual yin-yang. She calls herself hyper-independent but lives with her mom. The more impersonal and pseudo-professional this adorable womb man is on YouTube, the more view numbers escalate. Using Google to sell readings, what is wrong with this? Am I envious? I don't see anything wrong with it. Only thing is that I've just been both impressed and saddened. It only seems the only private communication possible is to buy something. Fine. The internet tries to gamify and compartmentalize and force everyone into a competition and niche everyone into a cozy little me survival online. You monetize, and how much of the super chats do they take? I forgot how much it is. Like I think 30%. I don't know. Do you really want to be a wealthy person in a realm where all, or it might be more, where all the wealthy must get in the big club and literally sell their soul to the fallen hell realm to rule over you and keep you stuck in this financial codependence? Can Mr. Beast have his own opinion? Even if you move into the mountains with a knife and a fishing rod and a tent or a teepee, you'll have to kill or steal to survive nutritionally, for your brain to survive. Why have I emphasized psychological healing and sovereignty, mental sovereignty so greatly? Your mind, your body, your choice. My choice is your responsibility. No, my choice is my responsibility. It sucks literally to face the facts. Kill or be a proxy killer or proxy thief. I mean, you can just go buy the meat or the eggs or placenta, stolen babies, stolen unfertilized eggs in the store. Eating what something else killed or what something else was going to grow to reproduce. An eagle is almost a buzzard. I mean, it's just one that steals the live animal or the animal right as soon as it was killed instead of until it was rotten. Sam Vaknin says there is no social mobility at all in the U.S. corporation. Why does he say that? Is it true? Is it true that, what does it take for an individual to move up, financially or move up in social class in the U.S.? Is that true? For example, the AI devil insists all 600 videos have to be a volunteer service because I didn't, it wasn't shared enough or whatever. Like, I like Tina's channel, The Dark Matrix. She has both achieved sovereignty, supposedly in capitalism as an artist, and attained some level of awareness that may free her in the afterlife, she claims, which could be true. She plans to create her own realm, which I think is interesting as an artist myself. That that's where I really felt like I was alive in this flesh suit. One year on my B-Day, I'm playing a set busking on the mall, and I play my weird, my original song. You can look it up, The Spider, and dude puts in a 5, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. You like my original, kind of weird jazz song, weird fusion jazz song. Anyway, so she says she's going to create her own realm. This may work. But while in the flesh sack, she'll have to continue to consume other animal parts like placenta for survival, for her brain to continue to be so sharp. Don't be fooled. Who wants to be independent in a version of reality that is a vampiric Ouroboros, a memory wipe station, a demiurgic bad copy anyway? Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled again. Surrounded. Who wants to be totally independent when you're surrounded by everyone else as a human slave, a farm animal, or goy? Do as I say, not as the beast has tried to force me to do. Mental sovereignty and freedom is likely possible. With enough shadow work, you can free your mind. That's right. You can free your mind if you're willing to do the inner work, even though the Loosh Farm, Hell Realm, and humans' free will are mutually exclusive. You're going to have to carve out that space. You're going to have to carve out that meditation. You're going to have to carve out that room, that, energy to really be real and not just suck dry. And you know that the archons are going to try to thwart it at every moment they can. We can build farms, communities, partnerships, and collectives when true extraction is vastly minimized. The loose farm aspect is minimized through the shadow work, through awareness, and so ascension or escape possibility is vastly maximized. That's right. For example, I remember as my dad loved to take me to the movies when I was a teenager and in my 20s, and he took me to this movie. It was the documentary about Aaron Brockovich. Yeah. Another name on that, that might be chosen on the side of freedom. And in the movie, her boyfriend is a construction a carpenter, contractor, and he said he would work a job, and then he'd have enough money to live for several months, and he'd kick back and read or party or do whatever he wanted to do. And that really touched me as I was a 19-year-old or whatever when I saw it, and I was like, wow, like that's a great idea. You could figure out how to work in the matrix in a way that minimizes your suffering and your hours you devote to it, where you have the maximum amount of moments for freedom, to do what you want in peace. And flunk all our pretendependence. We have to accept that this is a large shadow work most of us still have to do. We are all on this. I mean, the thing is, we are all on this together, despite the violently enforced invaders' capitalist separationism. But with equal respect, I think is a key. Like if you have a partnership, it has to have equal respect. If you cannot have equal respect, it ain't gonna work. Then it goes back to these issues. Take back all the essence you can. You are not a slave or a goy. You are a ray of the Christ light in an animal suit. Can you handle the truth?